President Donald Trump's executive orders laid out a blanket 25% tariff on Canadian goods imported into the United States, except for energy. Canadian energy will carry a lower tariff of 10%. These tariffs went into effect at midnight on Tuesday, March 4th, sending U.S. markets into a dramatic sell-off. Steel and aluminum imports will also be subject to a levy. It's unclear which tariffs will last. Trump has since altered, paused, or canceled some of the tariffs. But the threat of the tariffs has prompted a strong response from Canadian leadership.
Our tariffs will remain in place until the U.S. tariffs are withdrawn, and not a moment sooner.
Canada announced retaliatory tariffs, including a 25% tariff on $30 billion worth of U.S. goods on March 4th, with an additional 25% tariff on over $20 billion in U.S. imports that took effect on Thursday, March 13th. These measures come in response to the U.S. implementing additional steel and aluminum tariffs on Wednesday, March 12th, with the total scope potentially increasing to $155 billion. Tariffs will likely increase prices for American consumers, especially in states with a high share of imports from Canada, such as Montana, Maine, Vermont, North Dakota, and Wyoming.
This is not how neighbors treat one another, and certainly not best friends.
In what appears to be an escalation of the dispute, Trump has repeatedly called Canada the, quote, 51st state.
So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
What he wants is to see a total collapse of the Canadian economy, because that'll make it easier to annex us, is the second half of his thought. Now, first of all, that's never going to happen. We will never be the 51st state. But yeah, he can do damage to the Canadian economy.
Here's how this trade dispute will impact American and Canadian consumers, and what this could mean for the future relationship of the two countries.
The United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. Canadians are reasonable, and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight.
Trump has given different reasons to the media for this, even though, the official documentation is that this is an emergency related to fentanyl on the border. He's also talked about the Keystone Pipeline. He's talked about the trade imbalance. He's talked about the trade deal that we have with Canada. So it's really confusing to figure out, what is the U.S. trying to negotiate on here.
Trump's executive orders outline several reasons for the levies, including to stop drugs and undocumented people from entering the U.S.
I think there is concern that the border could be strengthened, and I think there are plans in place that the Trudeau government has put forward in terms of a $1.3 billion border plan, the undocumented migrants, as well as the fentanyl trade. That said, I think it's overstated in terms of the Trump administration's focus areas. They went from that to a trade imbalance with Canada and China and Mexico as another reason, and then it goes